This story is about an Icelandic cow called Búkolla. In Iceland there are a few stories about this cow. She's quite famous. And this story is about the day she went missing. A long time ago, there was an ashlad. What's an ashlad? An ashlad is like a Scandinavian Cinderella. Not quite as glamorous as Cinderella, but he basically sleeps in the ashes and he has to do all the chores around the house. His parents aren't actually that nice to him, unfortunately, and they sleep in a nice big double bed, but they don't let him sleep there. No, they make him do all the jobs around the house and then sleep by the fire every evening. The ashlad doesn't get cold because, of course, he's sleeping next to the fire, but he also has his one friend in the whole world to keep him company and to get some warmth from, and that friend is a large cow called Búkolla. She's a beautiful cow with great big brown eyes, and she's his favourite person in the world. And, well, the family, they get butter and milk and skyr, which is kind of a fermented type of yoghurt. Now, can you imagine the ashlad's distress when he wakes up one morning and discovers that the cow is missing? Búkolla has gone. And what is worse is his parents are blaming it on him.
What have you done with Búkolla? Where have you put her? Did you let her go? Did you not tie her up properly?
I wouldn't do that to Búkolla. She's my favourite cow. She's my best friend in the whole world. There's no way I'd do that.
Well, did you eat her then?
What? I'd never eat Búkolla, and I certainly couldn't eat a cow in a whole night.
Well, what are we going to do? Where are we going to get our butter and our milk and our skyr from?
Well, I could go and find her, said the ashlad. She is my friend and I would like to. Okay, said his parents, and they gave him a small amount of food, for truth be told, they didn't think he was coming back from this journey. But the ashlad was determined. He was going to find Búkolla. And so he set off into the Icelandic landscape. Now, it was the winter in Iceland, and when it's the winter in Iceland, the sun rarely comes up above the horizon. It was dark. He'd been walking for, he did not know whether it was days or maybe even a week. He wasn't sure because the sun never came up. He didn't know, but he knew that he was tired enough to sleep. And after he'd walked across the lava fields and the tundra and the grasslands, he finally reached a cairn, which is a tall pile of bricks, which can help you navigate around the landscape. He found this cairn and it was big enough for him to shelter behind from the wind, and he curled up and he hugged his knees to his chest and he said, "Búkolla, if you can hear me, moo for me." "Moo," said Búkolla. "Oh my goodness, she's not that far away," thought the ashlad. And so he got some rest and then he carried on the next day. He went across the lava fields and the tundra and the grasslands until eventually he was in some long grass, and he curled up, sheltered, and before he went to sleep he said, "Búkolla, if you can hear me, moo for me." "Moo," said Búkolla. "Even closer," thought the ashlad. And so the next day, after a good rest, he carried on across the lava fields and the tundra and the grassland until eventually he climbed a huge mountain, because he thought from the mountain he could see for miles. He'd get a good view and he'd be able to see where Búkolla was. "Búkolla," he shouted. "Búkolla, if you can hear me, moo for me." Moo. He could hear it this time, almost from underneath him. Must be a cave. And so he ran down the hill, being careful not to slip on the scree. He ran down the hill and then found the entrance to the cave. He went into the cave, and wonder of wonders, this cave had carpentry tools on the wall and blacksmithing tools on the other side, and furniture. More furniture than he'd ever seen in his life. I mean, he knew about beds and he knew about benches, but what was this thing that we call a sideboard? What was the point in that? He did not understand. There was so much furniture there, far more than any one person could need. And as he walked on through the caves, he saw piles of gold and jewels and gems and crowns and great big strings of pearls. "Moo," came Búkolla's voice from the back of the cave. Búkolla! So he ran to the back, and there he saw Búkolla. He threw his arms around her neck and he said, Búkolla, where have you been? It's been so long since I saw you. I came to find you. Well, I've been here the whole time, said Búkolla. Búkolla? Boy, you can talk? Yes. But you never talked before. Well, you never spoke to me before. Oh. Okay, said the ash lad. Now, we have to get out of this cave quickly, because it was 2 trolls that stole me and tied me up here. So quick, let's go. Well, the ash lad didn't need telling twice. He knew about trolls. And so he undid the rope and he started to lead Búkolla out of the cave. And as they were passing through the gold, Búkolla said, quick, take the saddlebags. Put some saddlebags on me, with all of the gems and the jewels and the gold. Are you sure, Búkolla? Said the ash lad. Not our gold. Surely we shouldn't take it. Oh no, it's going to make things much easier for you, she said. And so they did. They put a lot of gold in the saddlebags and off they went out of the cave. They'd been walking for a day or so when the ash lad looked behind them, and there were these 2 10-foot trolls, a fair distance away, but not too far for trolls that have 10-foot legs. And so, well, he pointed back at them and he looked at them and he said, look at them, Búkolla, the trolls, they're following us. And sure enough, there they were with their knobbly-bobbly noses and their great big flappy ears and their tufts of hair. Oh, that's nothing to worry about, said Búkolla. Take one of my tail hairs and throw it down. Are you sure, Búkolla? I'm not sure what that's going to do. Just trust me, said Búkolla. So he took a piece of her tail and he threw it down, and Búkolla said, I wish there to be a huge, vast lake come from this tail hair. And there, whoosh, across the tundra was a huge lake, and the 2 trolls stood on the other side scratching their heads.
Well, what are we going to do? What are we going to do with all this water? I don't want to get my feet wet.
Well, said the other troll. We'll have to go back for the ox, said the troll.
The ox?
Yes. Now, in case you're not sure what an ox is a huge cow with great big horns, and this was a troll ox, so it was even bigger. And so the other troll did go back for the ox and came back and took it by the hind legs and started to use it like a pair of bellows and sucked up all of the water out of this huge lake, which was now no longer, and all the ox was huge. Great, and the trolls, and they carried on across the tundra. A few days passed, and the ash lad turned back, and the trolls were still following. Búkolla, Búkolla, the trolls are still following us. Don't worry about it, ash lad, she said. Take one of the hairs from my tail and throw it down. So he did. He didn't question it this time because he knew what had happened last time. He took the hair, threw it down. From this hair I want a wall of fire, said Búkolla. And out of the hair came a huge 20-foot wall of fire. It was huge. On the other side of that were the trolls scratching their heads.
What are we going to do about this? I don't want to walk through that. It's going to ruin my hair,
said the troll. Well, the other troll says, well, we've still got the ox.
What are we going to do with that? I don't want to roast it.
No, watch. And now he turns the ox around, and with the front legs, he pushes the front legs so that all of the water comes out of the ox as we, all over the fire, and it puts the fire out completely. Ah, excellent, says the troll. And off they go. They carry on. Now, the ash lad and Búkolla, they are so close to home. They can see the little house in the distance with the tendrils of smoke coming up through the chimney. They are very nearly there. But when the ash lad turns round, he sees the trolls still following them. Búkolla, the trolls are still following us. What are we going to do? Just stop panicking, said Búkolla. Take one of the hairs from my tail and throw it down. And so she does. He does that. He takes a hair, throws it down. From this hair I wish for a mountain range that stretches as far as the eye can see, and that none shall pass. So that's what happens. There is the mountain range.
Well, what are we going to do now? I don't want to have to walk round it, and I certainly don't want to have to walk over it.
Well, we've still got the ox.
What are you going to do with that now?
Well, give it here. He takes the back legs and the two big horns, he uses it like a drill, round into the mountainside till there's a great big hole through it, right the way through, and they can look through at the Aslad and Búkolla there on the horizon, little tiny figures. Now, I don't know whether you have tried to fit through a doorway with somebody else, but sometimes it can be a bit of an issue. There's not enough room for two people. And the trolls, in their haste to get to the other side of the mountain, hadn't really thought this through. And so they both tried to get through the hole at the same time. Now, they got so far to the point where their heads were out the other side of the hole, but they couldn't get their bottoms through. They got stuck on the other side. And by fortune's chance, it was at that point that the Icelandic winter came to an end and the sun started to rise above the horizon. And as anybody who follows folklore will know, that as soon as the rays of the sun fall on trolls, they will turn to stone. And that is exactly what happened to these trolls. Their knobbly bobbly noses, their great big flappy ears, their tufts of hair turned completely to stone. And their bottoms too. And the Aslad and Búkolla, they made it home. And well, funnily enough, the Aslad was treated a lot better now, because not only had he brought the cow back for the butter and the milk and the skyr, but now he knew where there was a whole cave full of treasure, albeit a hike over a very large mountain range, but nonetheless it was there. They lived a very long life together. Búkolla was kept as the family pet and she was cherished. So now you know. If you happen to go to Iceland and you see an enormous mountain range, and on the side of that mountain range you see two troll-like faces, and on the other side their bottoms, you know the story of the Icelandic cow Búkolla and how they came to be.